Speaking of houses, good news from the Reserve Bank, and I say good news because it's not bad news, but good news is not to continue the pain that we're all been in, anyone who's been paying off a house for the past few years. As you know, the Reserve Bank has kept the cash rate at where it is. Commercial rates ever so high, a little higher than that, but the whole point is it remains at 4.35%. A dozen interest rate rises since this Prime Minister came to power, but don't mention that. The Reserve Bank Governor, who of course now under the reforms, after the ousting of the previous Reserve Bank Governor because, well, he kept putting interest rates up because the government kept spending its money, didn't do anything about trying to cut back spending and thus the stimulation to the economy. No. It had to be the Reserve Bank. It had to be the people paying off their homes who had to do that. People are now having to find anywhere between what's the numbers? $15,000 to $30,000 between a $500,000 loan and $1 million bucks. That's how much you've had to find on top of what you were already paying before Albo became the Prime Minister. But of course, one of the changes they made after the rissoling of Philip Lowe was for his deputy to become the new boss, but the new boss would then have to give press conferences because then it's them who have to answer the curly questions and Grim Jim just gets to swan around in Parliament, where of course apparently he was a little bit loose a few years ago, but nobody follows up on what loose means.
What we need to consider a rate cut is really to be much more confident that inflation is coming back into the band. So if we were to see some acceleration and get some more confidence that we are overachieving there, then possible rate cuts might be something on the agenda. But at the moment, we're not seeing that.
Now remember, 2 to 3% is where inflation needs to be. Currently, the inflation rate is in the mid to high threes. But of course, once you start to turn around and have a look at where the different items are that do feed into inflation, well, of course, a lot of those are a lot higher than the average numbers. So inflation, yes, slowly but surely returning, but it has been a very painful time for the past couple of years, and the expectations are that will be for another few months to go. And when it comes to housing, that yes, it's good the rates don't go up, but when the rates remain where they have been, which is the highest in the best part of a generation, there are an awful lot of people that are struggling right now. In fact, more than 250,000 households will roll off the fixed rate loans that they had during the part of the pandemic, and they will go onto the variable loans, which means they're going to go straight through the roof, a dozen times higher, thanks to all of the changes that have happened under this government. By the way, that's on top of the 1.5 million people that are already in mortgage stress. These are the people who literally do not have the right amount of money to be able to pay off their house. Instead, it's less and less money each and every month to pay for everything from school shoes to, food. And when it comes to inflation and the expectation of where that's going to go, because interest rates will start to go down once the Reserve Bank thinks that we are hitting the 2 to 3, or we are landing officially between 2 to 3% inflation, well, we'll all wait and see. But the big four banks say that that's not going to be happening until the back half of this year. The Prime Minister, of course, will desperately hope that that's the case because he's planning at least an election as soon as he can after the too little too late tax cuts come in on July the 1st. So if something happens around August and they've put all their ducks in the row, that will be what might happen. Also, if the Prime Minister would like to do anything about inflation between now and then, he could do what we've been talking about for about a full year now, cut petrol tax. This is the bloke who, remember, when he took over, 23 cents in the dollar. Now, 49 cents in the dollar. They want to do something about inflation, feel free to cut back on the tax that they get, meaning people will be able to save a little bit of extra money or stretch the $0.50 that they have left over.